Misturar diversos gêneros musicais nunca foi uma tarefa fácil, mas há uma banda formada na Califórnia que soube fazer isso com maestria. Sim, os Chili Peppers conquistaram o mundo misturando diversos ritmos em suas músicas e com uma grande pitada de inspiração em Jimi Hendrix. Hoje vamos ver a história de uma das maiores bandas de rock do mundo. Hoje vamos falar sobre os Red Hot Chili Peppers. Tudo começou na escola Fairfax High School, onde os garotos Flea, Hillel Slovak e Jack Irons decidiram montar uma banda. Eles já tinham até um fã, Anthony Kiedis, que sempre ali por perto, sempre muito presente e prestativo, acabou entrando na banda.
That's a good fan to me. Just relating on a very pure level. Growing up in Los Angeles, there was a very vibrant club scene of bands and music going on, and I used to go out to all these shows, and my specialty was sneaking into these shows because a lot of times I was too young to get into the clubs, or I didn't have any money to pay for a ticket. And so I would invent different ways to sneak into these places just so I could go kind of glean the feeling of what it was to be a creative entertainer.
Porém, o primeiro CD da banda, lançado em 1984, teve outros integrantes. Sim, Cliff Martinez e Jack Sherman.
Just the chemistry of Flea and I being best friends for so long, or on and off best friends, the chemistry just turns into pure crazed energy. And
a banda teve de volta Hillel na guitarra e demitiram Jack Sherman. Já em 1985, tivemos o álbum Styley com o rei do funk George Clinton produzindo os caras. Foi quando Cliff saiu da banda e entrou novamente na banda Irons. Uplift, Mofo, Plan veio em 1987, porém a banda estava usando muitas drogas no momento da gravação do álbum.
I think we're just your average yuppies. He's got a BMW convertible. He drives a Rabbit. I've got a Toyota Corolla.
And we just want to make some money. We're hoping if we can just get this music thing going, sell a couple of records.
Em 1988, o pior aconteceu. Hillel Slovak foi encontrado morto por overdose.
Yeah, we lost Hillel, and that was unbelievably sad. And there were times when, I was really worried about Anthony when he was really strung out and stuff, but, he's a survivor and, we work through things.
Eles chamaram Blackbird para ser o novo guitarrista da banda, mas Flea acaba se deparando com um fã jovem, mas muito talentoso.
And then one day Flea gives me a call and he tells me Bob Forrest from Thelonious Monster is looking for guitar players and things aren't going super well with Blackbird. So I talk to Bob, I go down to the Thelonious Monster rehearsal and I auditioned for them and they hired me right away. But the thing about that rehearsal was Anthony Kiedis was there at the rehearsal. So I don't know, him and Flea must have talked. Flea was like, you should go check this guy out. And so Anthony was watching the whole time. So I auditioned, they hired me. Then Anthony left there and went to Flea. And then they both called me up at like 6 o'clock in the evening. And they were like, we've been talking a lot about it and we've decided we'd like you to be the guitarist of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Is this what you want? And I said, yeah, I want this more than anything in the world.
That's him. And then there's people that practice 8 hours a day and they become prodigies from the practice. So Chad's a little bit of all that. Yeah. But he's gifted. I mean, like other people, other drummers look at him and they scratch their head and they're like, what is going on with that?
That's crazy.
Well, we fired DH and we auditioned a ton of drummers and Chad came along. The story of that is Denise Zoom, she comes up to me and she says, John, I've got your new drummer. He eats drums for breakfast. And I told everybody that afterwards and they were like, what a corny line, like eats drums for breakfast. And then he came to audition for us. And then after he left, because he just wrote us the whole time, we were used to DH kind of following us, and Chad came in and he drove the whole thing. He started by playing a slow funk groove, and he just gradually sped up and sped up and sped up until he was playing like crazy fast, speed metal kind of thing. He was very impressive. There was another couple of drummers who seemed good, but Chad just seemed like he could be the driving force in the band in his own way,
Yeah.
And so after he left, Flea said, he really does eat drums for breakfast.
E foi então que tivemos uma nova era para o Red Hot Chili Peppers. Em 1979, tivemos o álbum Mother's Milk, o álbum que lançou o Red Hot Chili Peppers para o mundo.
Where we come from, as musicians, we really pride ourselves on the organic nature of our sound. That it's four human beings all just making vibrations at one time.
This whole band should go to the top of the pops in Australia because of my pure Australianness.
Yo, Flea, turn it up, my friend.
Se o Red Hot Chili Peppers achava que tinha muito sucesso, eles não faziam ideia do que estava por vir, porque em 1991, Rick Rubin levou os caras para uma mansão mal assombrada e lá eles lançaram um álbum chamado Blood Sugar Sex Magic, com Give It Away, Under the Bridge, Funk Monk, Suck My Kiss e uma porrada de hits.
Yeah. And plus, like you said before, we're just about as lucky as they come at this point. I mean, how many, musicians get to come and live in the palace and make a record? We're very fortunate.
But it's like, our music has been too funky to get on the rock stations.
And they're also the payoffs.
Yeah. And too hardcore and rocked out to get on the black station.
Or listen to me sing it once. 3, 4. Under the bridge downtown is where I drew some blood. Under the bridge downtown, I could not get enough.
Maybe other people weren't writing about. There's a song on our new record called Under the Bridge, which is a salad. Ballad, if you will, and that song came about because during the course of my life, I was what you might call a hardcore junkie for many years, and during that point in my life was a very sad time, and I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love.
Com uma fama na qual a banda jamais imaginava, os Peppers estavam pelo mundo. Mas John não estava feliz, e suas brigas com Anthony aumentaram, o que fez John decidir sair dos Chili Peppers. A banda continuou tendo diversos outros guitarristas, mas nenhum que agradasse os fãs. Foi então que os Red Hot Chili Peppers se preparavam para entrar no momento mais obscuro, desta vez com Dave Navarro na guitarra. Em 1995, a banda lança o álbum One Rot Minute.
I always like playing live because it makes me sick to my stomach, and that's a good feeling. But after you've played these songs that we've written for one hot minute, you know, about 100 times it's time to go write new songs.
Right.
But we haven't totally burnt out yet, so we're still
So
good.
guys, very wild performance. I really enjoyed that. How did you feel?
I thought it was really kind of boring and mundane, and we were very disappointed in our performance.
Why?
Because Flea made a small mistake.
We went through a period playing with Dave Navarro, which was not as productive for us. We didn't really connect as deeply. You know, we made a record and we worked, but we kept the band going.
And what we discovered is it doesn't matter how great of a musician you get, if the chemistry isn't, you know, sent from God, you might not have the magic.
Então, Dave Navarro anuncia sua saída dos Chili Peppers. E somente, claro, uma pessoa podia ocupar este cargo novamente.
I just went over to his house and asked him, you know, what would you think about being in a band again? And I just remember his face turned bright red, bright beet red, and he was like, oh, well, I think that'd be a good idea.
It was really the best. It was like, you know, having someone die in your family and then come back to life.
What is Dream to you?
Well, around the time of Californication, The Cure were one of my favorite bands, and I think, especially like the song itself, Californication, I was laying there listening to The Cure. Anthony had this vocal idea that had been swimming around that I couldn't figure out what to put behind it for the chords. And so I was listening, forgetting now what it's called, but it's just half an hour long. It's a 25-minute long instrumental that they did around the same time as the third album. I'm spacing out on what it's called, but if you hear it, it sounds just like Californication. Dun, 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 dun.
We filmed Anthony. We'd hoped that Anthony would perform, but not his normal stage persona, that he would
just kind of
try something different. And you can never direct someone to do that. It was just in him, and he pulled it out. And
Em 2002 tivemos o álbum Bad Way com a música Can't Stop, que todo baixista ama essa música.
It's only a continuation of that album, really, in that it's the four of us still playing together and the four of us getting even tighter and being able to think with each other's brains even more.
It is a continuation, but it's a different animal.
To me, this new album seems more grandiose.
You know, when you see a child and the child is 8 years old and he looks really cute and he's into basketball and skateboarding, and then you see him 3 years later and now he's 11 and he's like, oh my God, he's completely changed. He's a foot taller and now he's into girls and movies, and that's kind of, it's like it's the same person, but it's a different animal.
A lot of songs, like, it's not like Flea just writes funk and I just write melody or something. That's a false public perception, you know. Universally speaking, Flea wrote that song, you know. It's like
it's like a lot of the songs on By the Way that you think of as being like John type songs, they're not written by me, you know? It's like like I said, something like Can't Stop that you might like associate more with Flea, it's me, you know? So these perceptions of the public, they're just people's perceptions. They have nothing to do with the real story, you know? Flea was really into music like the Smiths and Susie and the Banshees when we were making.
Em 2006 tivemos o Stadium Arcadium, um dos álbuns com mais guitarras pesadas feitas por John Frusciante. E detalhe que a banda ganhou nada mais nada menos que 4 Grammys.
Good? Okay. Fun day, really great. Tony really has captured everything, and I think that it's going to be a cohesive piece of cinematic genius.
It's fine. It shocked me at first. I thought that this was like, bah! Okay, No, it went down. First, I thought it was worse than it was because of shock. Yeah. But it wasn't so bad. I'm fine. And boom! I feel like the quality of the music is the highest that we've ever done in terms of it being a really far-reaching dynamic record. But more when I say that, it's more about my own emotional being in regards to the music and where my place in being a musician is, and just the feeling in the band for me. Just when we started this band, I felt like it was just this natural explosion that I couldn't control. It was just this beautiful thing, like all I had to do was sit back and let it take me, and it did, wildly. And I felt that way in the creation of this record, the same way.
Running through the fields where all my tracks will be concealed because it's so white as snow. Like there's bound to be some snow to come and cover up those old tracks that you made up.
Once again, it was John came up with all those guitar parts, those beautiful guitar parts.
That verse guitar part is insane.
Para a surpresa dos fãs, John Frusciante anuncia sua saída da banda. Foi então que a banda anuncia a entrada de Josh.
He wanted to do his own thing. It's difficult being in a band sometimes. You have to be very giving and accepting and willing to be in a democratic process, and that's not always fun or easy, especially when you've done it for a long time.
I don't know. I have no idea. We do have Josh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just the fact of, things change and you're presented with different circumstances and you make decisions and try to be the type of person that makes decisions. You live a life.
Time for a change, and he wanted to make the change, and we, with our blessings, we said, John, go on and do your thing. And, when one door closes, another one opens, and
Josh,
in walks
you're right.
the Klinghoffman, and he's...
But Josh was not just somebody. He was somebody very special and very much known to us as a friend for 10 years. Mm-hmm. He started touring in our circle of tour back in 2000. He came in a band called The Bicycle Thief, and he went on the road with us for Californication.
E em 2011 tivemos o álbum I Miss You.
Tick tock, I want to rock you like the 80s.
Yeah, well, again, we've had a decade-plus history together, and knowing each other and playing with each other and playing with friends, and it's
any great art that like any artist aspires to do something transcendently great. That great art can be interpreted a million different ways.
Danger Mouse conhece os Chili Peppers e em 2016 eles lançam o álbum The Garage, sem deixando de fora o Rick Rubin, que estava sempre ali desde 1991 produzindo a banda.
Sometimes you hear a piece of music that you fall in love with, but you have no idea as a vocalist what you're supposed to do with it. It just doesn't make sense. The timing is weird, the melodies are weird. With that song, I was like, I know what to do with this song. I think I know what my part is. And I took that and went to Hawaii and wrote lyrics for it, and just kind of speaks to the beauty of our dark sides and how much creativity and growth and light actually comes out of those.
You don't know my mind, you don't know my kind. Dark necessities are part of my design. And tell the world that I'm coming from the sky. Dark necessities.
I was watching the Angels lose a couple years ago when they got taken out of the playoffs. And that was a working title that stuck because it was just sort of, it wound up, I'm trying to think, it sort of made sense with the lyric. That was a song that just kind of happened, I think, as simple as that. Just, I was watching TV and sort of.
Say goodbye, my love. I've been seeing in your soul. Say goodbye, my love. Thought that I could make it whole.
When we were in the studio, we wanted just the bass and drums to have this really clean, low, dirty punch to it. And I remember referencing Controversy by Prince.
E não é que o Josh saiu da banda? Sim, de uma hora para outra, num domingo à tarde, o Red Hot Chili Peppers decidiu anunciar a saída do Josh e quem retornou? John Frusciante está de volta.
I was told that John was coming back, and I just sort of sat there and I was just hit.
And it was all of them telling you? It was like a meeting?
It was just a meeting, but it was just the four of us, but Flea's the one who said it. And then I was hit with this wave of, because it's such a big deal and it's such a shift in your life, you can reflect on it, and you can even do it on a live radio. But I was just sort of grateful for all of these incredible experiences I've had with them for the last 10 years.
Josh, I kind of remember when that was. We were like, right around, we were like playing the Grammys with Post Malone or some shit, And then, shortly after that, like time went by, we were writing a new record, and I think at a certain point, we were like looking at what we had. Might have played some of it for you, I think, and just feeling like, yeah, we're doing it, but just felt like we were missing something. And I like the shit we made with Josh, I really do. And I think, and then I jammed with John once or twice, and it was just like that effortless thing.
Yeah, well, what was it? I think Anthony said, hey, come on over. And he's like, what do you think of John coming back in the band? I was like, what?
That John wanted to come back, and without knowing that Flea had been having interactions with John musically, suddenly I felt very overwhelmed with the feeling of, how do we get John back?
Long time, probably 7 years at least. And he said, well, I want to play music again, and I want to play guitar in a band, and the only band I want to be in is the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Anthony and Flea and Chad through a different lens than I had seen them through when I quit. Not that either time that I quit that it was specifically anything to do with personal, but, you know, having a personal relationship in a band is a hard thing. You've got to be in sync with four people, working as hard as they work, doing, you know, going where they go, doing what they do, almost thinking what they think. It's an intense thing to do, you know, and so I've found for myself that I've needed to clear my head of it and try to figure out who I am as a person. And I really wanted to have that closeness and that kind of vulnerable interaction with them again.
Com muita animação, a banda lança uma turnê nova e um álbum novo chamado Unlimited Love.
The secret life of Bruce, a personality I never knew.
And then Black Summer, oddly enough, which is now like our single off the record, was one of the first things that I remember John playing. And it had such a beautifully sparse verse. I was like, wow, I am going to be naked and exposed trying to get my voice on this.
We're pretty prepared when we go in, and this time we were for sure. Things change a little bit when you get in the studio, and you know, you're always trying to do little tweaks to make the songs better and help the arrangements and whatnot. It's mostly, once you just get the sounds going, it's literally capturing the performance.
And what is happening now, and how can we make it be the best, and how can we live a life that makes us make the wisest choices and do the most beautiful thing and come with the most power.
The sounds, the smell. These are the way when you come from America.
We do have some crazy ass history together. We grew up listening to some K-rock, and then the first time I ever heard our music on a commercial radio station.
Mas se os Chili Peppers surpreenderam o mundo com o retorno de John Frusciante, o que dizer então de lançar 2 álbuns no mesmo ano? Sim, Return of the Dream Canteen veio ainda em 2022.
And then I had the challenge of being way behind schedule, which that's always the situation. This band will write 20 songs and I'll be like, I'll get to those lyrics post-haste. But now I've got 20 songs to add to. And then it was 20 more, and then it was more. And I had a unique situation in so much as I did not have the luxury of editing or censoring. Whatever came, I had to make use of it because there was too much waiting for me to get to.
The chemistry of any band is the key. I mean, it's like a team, like a sports team or anything where, you know, the sum of the parts.
We're doing things for more of those reasons of having an actual love for the music rather than...
But really, I want to thank Flea and John and Chad Smith, Gaylord Smith, for giving me a purpose in my life,
For the last 40 years, I would have been a free-floating disaster in space if not for these boys. So thank you, boys, for giving me something to do with my life.
I met him when I was 15, and we had both just started the 10th grade at Fairfax High School in Hollywood, and we were like almost immediately like in love and at war, and became my family. I mean, we were inseparable for many years, like especially when we were young. It was like every single day we were together. From the very beginning, I remember my mom, rest in peace, who told me a few years before she died, she said, I remember when you came home, you were 15. And it's hard because I get, she said to me, she's like, Michael, you came home and you were all lit up. You said, Mom, I finally found someone I can talk to. And I really did, and like any really close brotherly relationship, it's, we go at each other too, but I found someone I could communicate with in a way, and in a profound way that I hadn't had before.
Yeah.
And here we are 40-something years later.
Uma forte amizade nasceu nos anos 70. Se transformou numa banda. Anthony e Flea superaram muitas coisas juntos. E agora, com Chad Smith e John Frusciante, a banda tem muito pela frente. Afinal de contas, eles são os Red Hot Chili Peppers.